Welcome in to Other People's Shoes. As you know, I am your host, Neil Matthews. So excited that you are here today. We celebrate 400 episodes today. Whether you've been here for episode 1 or you are just joining the journey at 400, I am grateful that you are here. Speaking of things that I am grateful for, I am grateful and thankful for my wife, Elizabeth, for encouraging me to take this step into podcasting. You see, years ago, I had aspirations of being in radio. I thought I'd be the next Dan Patrick or the next Casey Kasem. Podcasting for me has become the closest thing to radio that I've ever experienced, and I am grateful every week to sit behind this microphone and to share a story and to hopefully shift your perspective as we walked in other people's shoes. With that said, I created this little ditty for us to help bring in 400 episodes. I would say this if I was in radio, straight off the request line. We're calling it Other People's Shoes.
Started in a closet with a mic in my hand, a little recorder and a half crazy plan. No lights, no stage, just a story to tell. Now the shoe shack's rocking and we're ringing the bell. We learned how to listen, we learned how to choose to see a different life in other people's shoes. 400 shows and we're still alive, still chasing the stories that keep us inspired. More roads, more seasons, more truth coming through, and we're still walking in other people's shoes. Whoa, other people's shoes. Whoa, other people's shoes. Whoa, other people's shoes. Whoa, other people's shoes.
Yes, welcome in, come on in. There's room for all. I'm so excited about today. You know, there's certain things in life that maybe you set out doing and you think, man, is that day ever gonna happen? Maybe it's a trip you planned months in advance, years in advance, and you think, man, all right, here we go. I got everything packed. I know I got the passport. All right, check. All right, I got the travel wallet. All right, got that. I got my clothes. Wait, did I pack enough underoos? Okay, and you go through that mental and maybe even physical checklist of things that you're going to do once you arrive. I told my wife yesterday, I said, tomorrow's 400. And she said, how does that make you feel? I don't think people realize what it took to get to 400. I don't think people know that there's early mornings, there's late nights, there's weekends, there's meeting people. It's so humbling to think about the starting and now, I'm not going to say the finish line, now hitting that milestone. I don't know what to do with it. It's only fitting that we find somebody that can help us not only with our list today. By the way, this was on my list, not of regret, of list of things I wanted to accomplish in podcasting. And now we get to check that off our list. So in a positive way, we're checking something off our list. I think there's still some of us out there that are still wondering about and lingering around. And there's that document we don't want to open on our desktop or in that one folder that nobody knows about. That list, yeah, that's still there. Luckily for us, a new friend, a very excited friend to help us ring in 400. Help me welcome in my new friend, Shay. Shay, how are you today?
I'm wonderful, Neil, and I just have to say, congratulations on number 400. It is a huge accomplishment. And like you said, all of the hard work, the tears, the kicking yourself in the pants, like, am I going to meet this? Am I not? And you just kept going. So bravo to you.
The hard part is there is one goal still on the list, and that's Nebraska. So I'm not putting any pressure on you. We could somehow get Nebraska. I might feel like I could stop. Everyone asks me all the time now. All right, now that you got 400, what's next? And I said, it's Nebraska. And everybody's like, what? What does Nebraska have to do with it? I'm like, it's the last state. We need Nebraska. Stop being a holdout. Is there anybody that lives in Nebraska? There was a country song in the 90s that was like, there is no Arizona. Right now, I feel like there is no Nebraska.
Well, I have someone that I can introduce you to that lives in Nebraska that would be a fantastic guest for this.
Oh, my goodness.
So there you
Let's
go.
put a pin in that, as my mom would say. I'm excited you're here. We're talking about this idea of a list. You, by the way, described something in our little discovery call that we did this season. Before we start, I know you're in Florida. You're just like a hop, skip, and a jump over the river and through not grandmother's house. We go to the Kennedy Space Center, and I'm excited about that. I've never been there. I've been to Florida a number of times. We seem to always visit the Mouse House, not anything other than that. Every now and then Universal. Help us with this. In Florida, what shoes emphasizing the word shoes there, might we find you wearing most days?
Oh, flip-flops for sure, or barefoot. Although today I'm wearing socks and shoes because it is in the 30s, which is unheard of for Florida. Yeah, flip-flops are the most shoes.
I really need to work on this. People keep telling me flip-flops are shoes. And I even Googled it, and Google says the same thing. I strongly disagree. Are sandals shoes, though?
So to be clear, are Crocs shoes?
I was a holdout on that. Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So there you go.
All right.
We could debate about that all day.
I only have one pair of Crocs, though. They're North Carolina Crocs. My sister actually helped me buy them for my birthday because they were like $60. I'm like, for Crocs? That seems unheard of and stupid money. She helped fund the Crocs. Like, we didn't start a GoFundMe. She just threw me some money. And she's like, here's the deal, though. If you ever wear them in public, I get the $20 back.
Oh.
I don't wear them in public. I only wear them around the house. That's not public in my mind. So it's a little weave around from her mandate. This idea of a list. Listen, some people, they still don't understand it. It's not a hit list. I'm a little bit being funny. I'm also saying it's a list that we're trying to move on from. Names that we're trying to maybe forgive. Or maybe if we can't forgive them, how do they exist in our space and how does that work? Again, you had this very, in my mind, too spiritual, but sort of spiritual moment with your list that just grabbed me and truly captivated me. Will you help us walk back through that list that you shared with me?
I'd love to. And I have to take us back just a little bit before the list. I don't even think we talked about this. I want to mention it because I think it's so crucial for people to understand the list. I, at this time of my life, was a hairstylist, had lots of people in and out of my chair, conversations primarily always focused on them. And then it got to a point where they spent years with me and they're like, well, wait, tell me about you. This time of my life, I'm sharing about me for several years. So they know me pretty well. The conversation started to go like, how are you? How are you? You know, what's new? Blah, blah, blah. All the things. They would say, so what's new with you to me? And I would say, you know what? I figured out. And they're like, what? I'm like, I'm angry. And they're like, you're going to have sharp instruments to my head. Was this okay? And I'm like, yeah. I'm not like angry at you. I'm just realizing that I have been holding on to anger and it didn't even occur to me that I was angry. And they're like, so how did you figure that out? And I said, I was actually having a conversation with a friend and we were talking about anger. And I was telling her about the situation that unfortunately I was in with an abusive relationship. And she said, well, does it make you angry? And I was like, angry? I mean, yeah, kind of hurt. And she's like, well, is that anger or is that hurt? And I said, I don't know the difference. And I love how she explained this, but Scarlett's a shout out to you. Anger is anger in the moment. When left unprocessed, it becomes hurt. Then it becomes depression. Then it becomes resentment. And then lastly, it becomes bitterness. And bitterness is like a disease that infects your entire system and it stays with you. And I was like, wow, I love putting anger into those types of words. I really just sat with, what do I do with this anger? From childhood, understood that my mom in my lifetime was bitter. She had circumstances with my dad. Before that, she had circumstances with her mom. And I didn't really see it until understanding anger that she had been bitter for most of her life. And I'm like, wow. So she reacted in the world from a place of bitterness. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that I am free from this before I get to that point. I was just holding on to this. Okay, I'm angry and I'm going to do something with it at some point. I don't remember the time frame. We'll say a couple of weeks just for fun. Later, I am on my way to work and I turn on the radio and it is a Christian station, a pastor sharing his message for the week. And I'm literally driving down the road of a 3-lane highway and he says, are you angry? Do you have a list of people that you're angry with? And I went, oh my gosh, that's what I need. I need a list. And so I literally grabbed into my console and found a fast food napkin and unfolded it 5 times. And I found a pen and I'm like, as I'm driving one-handed, thank God you weren't next to me, I'm writing this list of names of people that just made me mad or I was holding a grudge to, pissed me off in some way, shape or form. Filled the front and the back of this napkin. And I was like, got to work and I'm like, wow. Wow. I had no idea all of that was in there. Again, just like I sat with the anger, I'm going to sit with this list until the time is right. I know what to do with it. My practice every morning is to write in a journal. Really, it's a journal about what I'm thankful for, truthfully, I'm a very spiritual person. If you hadn't guessed, it is a letter to God. I just write, God, what do you want me to do with this list? What do I do with this anger? This is when you know God has a sense of humor. I felt, as I'm writing, I felt like he said, well, throw yourself a pity party. Why don't you? And I was like, that's what I'll do. I'll throw myself a pity party. And it's funny because most people are like, oh, poor you. You're in a pity party. For real? Have you ever actually thrown one? So I decided, well, what do you do for a pity party? I'm going to get all my favorite snacks, all the Cheetos and the oatmeal cream pies and all the soda, like all the things, and spread them out on my coffee table and just hunker down with a box of tissues and blankets and everything that made me comfortable on my couch. And I just picked a day when I knew I was going to be alone the whole day and really just dedicated that day to going through this list. What I did was took each name, had my notebook, and just wrote down around that circumstance that I was holding a grudge, all the things that I wished I could say to them. And then I said, I forgive you. Please forgive me. God, please, will you forgive me? And I did this for every single person on that list, which took a very long time, all day, probably 12 plus hours, a whole entire box of Kleenex. I probably had to restock my snacks several times. And yet it was worth it because when that list was done, the anger was gone.
Wow. I don't know if I could do that. It seems so easy in concept, by the way, Shay. It seems super easy in concept. Let's throw on some music too. Let's have a dance party of it.
Yeah.
This is just too hard. Now help me. A week later, is there regret? Is there, well, when you saw that person again, when you read the name, when a text maybe came through, when you were around them again, was there the moment you're like, nope, I remember the moment. I remember the party. I remember letting that go.
Actually, it was the opposite. I had been reading in the Life Recovery Bible. In there, they have the 12 steps. And if you know anything about the 12 steps, there is a place where you make amends. I purposely reached out to the people on my list on purpose. So yeah, this is hard work. It's not for everyone, but it was so hard and yet so incredibly liberating. I knew as humans, we have to feel the feelings in order to heal. All the distractions that we have in the world, we tend to not. And when we distract ourselves, it constricts and we hang on to those feelings later. And then feelings buried alive never die. That's why the body keeps score. That's why disease and illness happens. So there's a big, long reason why I did what I did. But yeah, I reached out to them. It wasn't I know what you did. It was more like, hey, how you doing? One kid, I call him a kid because he was younger than me. I'm like, I know I wasn't a good person growing up, and I just want to say I'm sorry.
Wow. So when you think back over that event, we'll call it the party.
Yeah.
You didn't even need a event party planner for that either. You sound like you
Just me.
played in dual roles, right? Like, hey, let's do this. Think back over that list. What name was the hardest name to not only write down, acknowledge? So maybe there's a couple of things. There's the acknowledgement, there's the writing down, and then that process that you went through of forgiving them literally on paper from the sound of it. And then was that person also on the list of reconciliation?
I mentioned my mom. It was my mom. I love this conversation, by the way. As a coach, I've done so much research and planning and going through it myself and then helping others go through it. One of the things with forgiveness is that it is a practice. Sometimes it's a one and done. And sometimes it's you got to remind yourself, oh yeah, I forgive them. Oh yeah, I forgive them again. It's like, oh yeah, I forgive them again. Probably, I would say a span of 15 plus years between the list to the time that my mom was diagnosed with terminal cancer. I know that we had had numerous conversations about, Mom, I know I was a bad kid. And she would be like, you weren't bad. I'm like, no, I remember distinctly screaming and yelling at you. Now, when I would have these conversations with her, I'm like, I get that it was hormonal at 15 years old, that was part of what was going on with me. I'm really sorry. And we talked about anger and we talked about resentment. And I would ask her things like, how do you feel about your parents and my dad? And sometimes she would talk about it. And most of the time she didn't want to talk about it. Diagnosed with terminal cancer. And I go see her. I wasn't there that day when she got diagnosed at the doctor. I had just had surgery myself, so I was still recovering. So when I went to see her, I put my hand on her stomach where the cancer was. And I said, Mom, I forgive you. And I hope you forgive me. Whatever time that we have left, I hope we just enjoy every moment of it. this is a practice. Forgiveness is a practice.
Why do you think people hate forgiveness? Why do you think people don't want to talk about it? Why do you think people instead choose resentment, choose to just act like it never happened?
Well, think about a society as a whole. First of all, when are we taught to ever forgive? Are we taught it in school? You might say, I'm sorry, and move on. That's not forgiveness. That's just 2 words. And then think about all of the movies that sell stems from anger, violence. There's very rarely that there's movies about forgiving people. So we don't know what it looks like. So it's uncertain. And people are afraid of the uncertain. People are afraid of the unknown. People are afraid to feel their own feelings. We're not used to that. We're used to the distractions. We're used to hiding them. We're used to all of the addictions that you could possibly think of, masking them with. So forgiveness is one of those things that unless you consciously decide to make an effort to understand what forgiveness looks like for you, because it's going to look different for everyone. And when you make that conscious decision, that is when you really start to lean into, well, how can this forgiveness thing help me? It's going to be messy and it's going to be uncomfortable. And again, we live in an Instagram perfect world. People don't want to be uncomfortable and messy, quote unquote, out of control. That's why forgiveness is difficult, because we don't really know.
You know, I never thought about it from that standpoint of no one's shown us how to do that. I think about all the things that they've shown us how to do, but I grew up watching Beverly Hills 90210. Okay, I'm finally admitting that.
Me too.
I've watched the series a number of times. I probably could be on 90210 Jeopardy. Serious, I know it pretty well. I learned how to shave by watching Brandon Walsh.
I love it.
Jason Priestley's character. I probably learned how to fight by watching Dylan McKay.
Yeah.
I learned a lot of how to treat a girl based on television.
Yeah, that part. Yeah.
I wasn't modeled that, to your point. And again, I'm not throwing rocks at my parents. That was the culture, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
My wife now, we were 17 when we started dating. She's like, what made you think of some of the things that you did? And I was like, I don't know. I saw it on a TV show. I thought everyone was doing that. She's like, no one was sneaking over in the middle of the night and taping roses to my window. No show did that. And I'm like, well, they should have. That's good writing. An aha epiphany moment for me right now, like looking back over my life, where have I learned my lessons of life? Where have I learned how to be the guy that I am, the romantic that I am? Where have I learned how to interact or how to talk to people? It's through TV, it's through movies, it's through watching other people.
Right.
And so again, if that's modeled for us, wow. I mean, seriously, I need a better sound effect.
To that point, I shared that I was in an abusive relationship. And so many people are like, well, just leave. Yeah. Well, that's great. Just leave. Yeah. But the point is, then what's next is the crucial point. And statistics will tell you that most people, and I'll say people because men are in abusive relationships too. I see it all the time in my clients. Most people leave. They go back to either that same person or another relationship like it. And the reason is because it's all we know. It's familiar. I am trying to figure out how familiar means family is a liar. It is how we grew up, all the education we have to stand on for relationships. I don't know a school out there that teaches you how to be in a relationship with your siblings, your parents, another person. Like, no, don't know it. I don't have a degree in that. I'm sure there's like coaching programs and stuff like that. Honestly, you are spot on by saying what we know about relationships and communicating with other people, how we show up for other people is what we consume. If you're only consuming 90210, which is me too, I love it, then that's all you know. But if you're also consuming only violent movies, that's all you know.
I've had a lot of fitness folks on through the years. They've come on and they've said, Neil, you got to eliminate this from your diet. You got to eliminate that. You got to eliminate this. And I'm like, I don't want to eliminate any of those things. I like Twinkies, okay? I like ice cream. Again, going back to this point, if that's all we're consuming, we know the result. All you're consuming is your junk food from your pity party. And then you flip that. If all you're consuming is this negative, violent, what kind of person are you going to be?
What you consume consumes you.
Absolutely. Again, I think we know that in our head, and maybe even we know that in our heart. The two aren't talking.
Right.
So how have you cracked the code, discovered the cheat code to really unlock this, that maybe somebody can hear from you and say, oh my gosh, yeah, that's me. I need to fix that.
Well, my cheat code, my hack, if you will, was to sit in the silence. And a lot of people are uncomfortable with sitting in the silence. I would come home from work and I didn't turn on the TV. I didn't look at social media. I just sat there, listened to my thoughts, didn't judge them, just let them show up and have my dinner, would go to bed. Eventually, I'd read a book or scroll social media or journal that I gave myself time and space to sit in silence. I did that every morning. I woke up, drank my coffee, journaled, in silence. And the reason is we're constantly being bombarded with outside sources, and we can't hear what our body, what our soul is trying to tell us. And maybe our soul, maybe this is a sign, if you're listening to this, that your soul is trying to tell you something really important. And it might be to forgive someone. It might be to get outside and go for a walk. It might be to, hey, you should really pick up this phone and call this old friend. You just never know.
I hate the silence.
Most people do.
I remember one of the first mornings coming out here to the studio. I am beyond blessed. I cannot thank my family enough for this 11 by 11 room that I come out here in. It was built before our house. I always make the joke that this is my house, that's my wife's house. Come out here, I have all of my stuff through the years. Newspaper clippings from high school, have all my North Carolina stuff out here. Medals that I've won, used to run races, and it is my space before my space.
Yeah.
Came out here one morning, I was doing a recording. Seems like most weeks now. It was early, and I think, my recording times, in case anyone's wondering, is 5 a.m. Pacific time sometimes, and sometimes it's 4 a.m. Pacific time. Yes, there is a 4 a.m. I've discovered that. And I got the time wrong. Like, I thought we were supposed to meet at 4 a.m. for this guest. And then I look at my calendar. I'm like, oh, no, it's actually 5. Okay, I have an hour. I'm like, what am I going to do with that hour? And I thought, I'm just going to do what a recent guest had said to me, like, sit in the silence, Neil, love the silence. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to put in practice what this guest had previously said. I sat here for like 5 minutes. I have a chair behind me. It's very soft. It's like Blue's Clues. Very good friend of mine, Jody Howe, gave me a North Carolina pillow. I have a blanket. Yes, it's North Carolina as well. And anyway, I cuddled up in the chair and I just sat there. And I thought, all right, I'm going to embrace the silence. I did it for 5 minutes. I was so proud of myself. I didn't scroll, powered down the monitors in here. There was no lights except just the ring of light blue lights. And I thought, all right, we're going to do this. And I thought, man, 5 minutes is a really long time. And I hated it. I was like, I'm going to go to sleep. I can't go to sleep. I got to do this recording. At the same time, I was like, why is this so hard? Do you have an answer to that for me?
I do. We're not taught to be quiet. We're never taught to be quiet. In fact, especially in this day and age, immediately a kid wakes up and the TV is either on already or they're making a fuss and a screen is handed to them, a device is handed to them. We grew up with 90210, so probably more than likely the news was on in the morning or radio. I grew up in the Midwest, so we had to listen to the radio to find out if school was closed on a snow day.
Good Morning America, where Charles Gibson and...
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember the other lady. She was nice.
Blonde.
Blonde, yeah. I can see her too.
I can see her.
I remember Charles Gibson. It's not Diane Sawyer.
Yeah, so you're right. Something was already on. So we didn't know what silence is. And even people at night sometimes won't sleep in silence. They'll sleep with a fan on, or they'll sleep with music or a TV or something. Again, just like forgiveness, it's a practice. Why meditation is so hard, because it's a practice. People want to give up. Tinnitus, who have ringing in their ears. And it's become so deafening when it's silent, drives them crazy. Coming from the spiritual standpoint of it, think, well, what is it that you're not willing to hear? So if you practiced 5 minutes of what do I need to hear in this 5 minutes? That's it. And you don't need to even judge anything that you're learning in that 5 minutes. You just go, okay, and keep going. There might be an idea that pops up. Have you ever had an idea in the shower? Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Because it's quiet. Somewhat.
Right.
Minus the water, but yeah.
But here's the other thing. We naturally blank out the water. Next time you take a shower, focus on listening to the water. It's actually very loud, but we don't do that with TV. We don't do that with social media. We don't do that with other things. We don't blank that out, but we naturally blank out the water.
Why do you feel like it's easier to black out the water?
It's not dramatic.
Joan London, by the way. I had to know. My brain would have not shut off till I had that answer. I get in the shower sometimes, and we have an Alexa in there. I have to be careful because now she's going to come on. I have one out here also. I have her play music while I'm in the shower, and I'm singing along, washing my hair, doing my thing, jamming along to whatever I want to listen to that day. And even in that, like, I can't get still. I can't get quiet enough to do it. And again, I know I've been hearing this for 7 years now. People have been telling me there's power in the quiet. There's power in the moment. And I know that I can do it when I'm fasting. I seem to be able to do it easier. I have nothing else to do. The last thing on the priority list. When I fast, generally it's water only. I'll drink some coffee. Really, it's just water only. Every now and then I'll throw in some tea. In that, I try to eliminate social media while I'm fasting. I will allow myself from time to time some music in small segments. Really do use that time of quiet. That's how this season came about. Is I was in a 4-day fast last year, struggling. Should I stay at my current church? Should we go? And I came out of it with that decision in mind. And then my wife said, "What else did you learn?" And I said, well, that I've been holding a grudge, that I have a list of names. And she laughed. She thought it was funny. And I said, why is that funny? I thought that would be news to you. And she said, no, it's not news to me. And then she said, well, who's on your list? And I started rattling off some names. And what about so-and-so? And I was like, oh, forgot about that. Probably should write them down. And then she said, what about this person? I was like, yep, I forgot about them too. Oh man, how could I have forgotten that? Shay, I like your idea of having a pity party. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
In concept, I like it. I like having all the snacks there. Maybe that's it.
Right.
I think somebody's hearing you right now and they're thinking the same thing. I like the idea of being able to move on. They may be screaming right now in their car or their gym or wherever they're listening, and they may hear us and they're like, Neil, Shay, okay, I get it. I need to do this. I like the element of getting the snacks and the idea of the Kleenex boxes. And sometimes people like to feel sad, which I think is weird. I've been there a time or two. I like parts of it. The idea, you don't know that name on my list. You don't know what they did to me. I can't forgive that. I won't forgive that. I'm never going to forgive that. Your answer to that would be what?
I hear you. I see you. I was you. I've been there. When you think about forgiveness as it's a tool for you, it has nothing to do with them, because the anger that they caused is also about you. It's not even about them. And so guess what? They're living their life, happy-go-lucky, skipping through life, and you're continuing to drink this poison of anger every time you think of them. That's what a grudge is. Every time you think of it, that when you think of them and you get angry, that you are literally picking up a cup of poison and you're drinking it, and it's going down your esophagus into your stomach, and it doesn't exit. It just sits there. And that's what anger does. Most of our issues, health issues in the world today, stem from that lower half of the trunk of our body, right below our belly button, from diabetes to weight, hormones to back pain, so many things, digestion, all because of the feelings that we've been unwilling to feel, the forgiveness that we've been unwilling to give. And the first person that you have to forgive is yourself.
What does that look like? I keep hearing that we got to forgive ourselves first. And again, I don't feel like we have a good example of that.
We don't. So I'll give you an example. So I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind sharing.
I'm ready. I'll put myself on the table.
Give me a couple of regrets that you have.
Oh, I thought this was going to be easier. The easy one. A lot of regrets on how I was as a husband when I first got married. A lot of regrets on that. Even when I became a dad, I have a lot of regrets on how I talked to my daughter, how I treated my daughter. I was not a very nice person with my words. I'm the dad. You're going to do what I say. And she was a rough toddler. She's an only child.
Sure, with a wife beater on and muscles.
She's got tats. Got tats that she got on the playground. Those would probably be the big two.
Thank you for being willing to share. I'm sure a lot of your audience can totally relate. As you can tell, I'm a big proponent of journaling. So it starts with saying, I forgive myself for making a bad decision in how I treated my wife, how I treated my child. Forgive myself for not knowing better. I forgive myself for only knowing what I know. I forgive myself for only being the example that I saw. I forgive myself for only loving them, the capacity that I only knew. So when you let yourself off the hook for behaving the way you only have seen, I didn't know. So when you think about a test as a child, you got an answer wrong. Do you go, oh, I'm so stupid because I didn't know the answer? Or did you let yourself off the hook and go, well, I didn't know the answer. I guess I need to go study what that answer is. Just like what you just did with Joan London. That's a growth mindset. So when you think about it, we have no idea how to treat people because we're only taught what we know. If you only know what you know, then there's a whole lot of things that you don't know outside of that. My question to myself when I got out of that abusive relationship and on my healing journey was, what is it that I don't know that I need to know in order to move forward? And that to me, ultimately, was how to love in a healthy way and how to show up as that and attract that. Make sure that I have boundaries in place to have that. Looking back at my family and having conversations with them about it, like my dad, boundaries. I don't even know what that is. Yep. That's why I was in what I was in. Yep. Thanks, Dad. Yep.
And maybe I'm judgy. Maybe I got Wapner in me somewhere, Judge Judy in me somewhere. I feel like people hear that and they're like, that is just a lot of work.
It is.
I don't have time for that.
You don't.
You guys don't know my schedule. I am in high demand. I got a high pressure job. When I come home, all I want to do is lay on the couch, watch Netflix. I don't want to do anything else. I don't want to think about anything else. I just want to zone out. I want to just get in my own zone, get in my pajamas. I want to get in the bed. I want to put the blankets over my head and I just want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And is that living? I don't think it is. But there have been seasons in my life that I've struggled with that.
It's a great question.
Much that I just don't want to think about.
And I love that you asked this question. Is that living or is it surviving? I'll give you an example how I figured that out. Where I used to live in Kansas City, there's a Kansas side and a Missouri side. For those of you who don't know, it's on the state line. There's literally a road that's state line.
The Chiefs fans of the world have just learned that. So there we are.
Right? Yes. Unfortunately. And that's a whole other conversation we could have for another day. Unfortunately, there is a perception of what the people are on the other side of the state line. Whichever side you're on, they have a perception of the type of side. I'm at this women's Bible study and this woman is looking directly at me. What she's really doing is looking through me. She doesn't even see me. She's staring at the wall, just talking. And she's like, yeah, I used to go to this other Bible study that was in Johnson County. And she was like, and everyone was awful. They were all perfect. They all had to have their makeup done and their hair done. And they all showed up with the glitter and the bling and the da-da-da and their nails done and all the things. And I show up just like me, stay-at-home mom with spit up everywhere. And this is how I am. And I just didn't fit in. And I don't know why they have to look like that. And she's staring at me. And I happen to look down and I'm like, I have my nails done and my hair done and my makeup on and it's curled perfectly because I'm a hairstylist and that's what I do. And my clothes have bling on it. And is she talking to me? How dare she talk to me? Here comes the anger. And I'm like, wow. And then I ask the one question that, again, we didn't even discuss. The one question is, what is this anger teaching me or mirroring back to me? And I was like, it's telling me that I appear on the outside a certain way because I finally feel that blingy on the inside. Up until then, which was 35 years old, I had been just waiting to die. And now I'm thriving. Got it.
I just wish I could do this more and I wish others could as well. Ask a question. Recently, my daughter, she's 18 and she knows everything. Just ask her. She'll tell you. She might not actually say that she knows everything. Man, she definitely has that vibe. She said, Dad, it just drives me crazy that this person in our life says, well, you just hate me. I don't hate her, but I'm starting to. I'm starting to want to. If they're going to say it, I might as well walk it out for them. Might as well make it true. I think that's the mindset people have nowadays. Well, you said it, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. You say I'm a jerk? Well, I'm going to go ahead and be the jerk. It's like, no, stop and ask a question. Why are you saying that? That's not true. I don't feel that way. Why don't you ask me how I feel rather than assume that that's how I feel? Is that a good mindset to have? Is that a terrible mindset to have? Again, total strangers? I mean, I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. You have to have discernment. Right? So total strangers doesn't matter. People you love and care about, is it worth asking and digging a little deeper? Absolutely. And the reason is a lot of times you can find out where someone's coming from their own fear, their own insecurity, and they're projecting it onto you, which is what that particular woman who became my friend, I found out that's what she was doing. But at the time, I was in my own feelings and my own anger. I was like, how dare you? That's me. And then I was like, wait, what am I to learn here about this? And it was literally me just practicing forgiving her and thinking about, okay, so what can I learn from this? And to really think about survival versus thriving. I mean, again, that's a whole nother podcast of a conversation. I love that you were starting to dig deeper. And the reason that a lot of times we don't is because sometimes we don't want to hear the truth or we don't want to know the answer. When we know the answer of someone's feelings, then we're like, now what do we do with that? And the reality is we don't necessarily have to do, quote unquote, anything with it. We just have to let that other person be heard and seen and let them feel like they are still loved and belong.
But you talk about boundaries. I am not a good boundary setter. I want to set some boundaries. I want to make a great wall of China for some folks in my life. I want to put a moat out in front of my house so certain people maybe can't come over. Maybe put a alligator or two. Can you send us one from Gainesville? A little gator action. Play this game when I worked at a corporate environment. We would play the game good idea, bad idea. Is this a good idea or a bad idea?
Depends on the person.
Okay. How do we determine who gets the boundary and who doesn't? You get candy. You get a car. You get this.
Yeah, it goes back to that discernment. How do you get discernment? It's that sitting in the silence is where you learn more of that. Boundaries are there to protect you. Who do you need to protect yourself from? Is a question. Is someone's behavior toxic towards you? Is someone unwilling to have a conversation, accept responsibility for their actions, accountability, all of those things? And some people will show you that they're angry without telling you they're angry when they're sarcastic in a mean way to another person. Sarcasm is actually anger in a clown suit.
So my wife has a t-shirt that says her love language is sarcasm. We got it from Johnny W. Shout out Johnny W. He came to our church. That was one of his merch was that shirt. So,
and truthfully, sarcasm is fun and witty when it's used properly. In my house, it looked like a backhanded compliment. That's the difference. Again, discernment comes in.
What you're describing, not taking accountability, all the things that you just listed. I'm not going to go over all of them because I'm going to miss some of them. I have somebody that I know in my life, sometimes wants to play a supporting role, sometimes wants to come in and play a main character role. How do I get that person to understand their behavior is hurtful, toxic? How do I set a boundary without hurting their feelings? Being a feelings guy, one of the few on the planet, I'm discovering more and more. I don't want to hurt their feelings. I feel like the boundary says, I hate you. I don't want you around. How do I set that boundary without feeling like they're going to get hurt?
The quick answer, you don't. Going deeper, you cannot set a boundary for you and be responsible for someone else's feelings. What you can do is set a boundary for you and know that it's going to ruffle feathers and be uncomfortable with the ruffling of the feathers. And before you set the boundary, you can talk to them. So when someone says something like, why do you hate me? Or you just hate me, don't you? The question is said so that the person saying it doesn't really get an answer. Person is saying it so that it causes drama. It stirs up a reaction. I'm not going to put labels on it. A good label that people are throwing around these days is narcissist. So what you want to do is learn to ask, well, where does that come from? Well, where does that come from? What makes you think I hate you? And then it becomes, hopefully, with a healthy-ish, I'll use that term because none of us are healthy. We're healthy-ish. We're on the way to be healthier always. So we're healthy-ish. In a healthiest person, it creates a dialogue. Oh, that comes from because I'm actually feeling a certain way about a situation that happened. Things might come to light and have a conversation about. If they're unwilling to have that conversation, then that is a perfect place where, well, how can we move forward? And if they say, well, what do you mean? How can I move forward? Because I'm because they're taking their stance, because that's what a lot of people who are self-centered and narcissists do. They take their stance and they're like, I am here. Well, they're setting their boundary. So then you can come in and go, well, I am going to protect me in this. And I love you, but I'm going to love you from over here. And when you are ready to have a calm and collected conversation with me, we can talk.
I hope that works.
Well, it's going to work. Here's the thing. It's never going to solve.
Well, that's what I was hoping for, Shay. I was promised solutions.
That's the thing, is that when you look at this type of thing, what you're talking about, setting boundaries and forgiveness and conversations, it's never going to solve a thing. What it's going to do is release. It's going to release some of the pressure that you have been feeling, whether it's towards this person, towards yourself, towards the incident, whatever. It's going to release some of that. So some of the tightness in your back, some of the tightness in your shoulders, maybe your ears will relax. That's what it's going to release. So it's not about solving anything. It's about allowing space for you to release.
I hope you're right. If you're not, I want my $18.95 back, okay? I don't know
Well,
why.
if you're-
I don't
I'm
know
not
why I
right,
picked
then-
1895.
Well, if you're not right, then book a session with me and we'll dive deeper.
Well, great segue. So what is it that you do exactly? Speaking of sessions and coaching and all of that, tell us
Yes.
about the Shea ecosystem, would you please?
Yes, I would love to. So I am a certified fearless living coach, and that is helping people break through fear. For example, people are afraid to actually forgive. People are afraid to have loving conversations. People are afraid to have courageous, non-violent conversations. So I've studied all of those, as well as feelings buried alive never die, body keeps score. It's really all the things culminated in the things that we're not willing to say. It's stored in our body. And how do you release that?
So you went from cutting hair and coaching people and making them look fabulous to now sitting in an office, probably a little easier on your feet, I would imagine. You get to sit down most days rather than standing up for 12 hours at a time. So that's good.
Yeah, well, funny. I was doing this behind the chair my entire career and probably even in high school and didn't even realize it. And then finally, I don't even know, 20 years in, maybe even less than that, maybe 15 years in my 28-year career. And people are like, you should be a coach. You should write a book. You should have a podcast. You should be a motivational speaker. And I was like, there's no way I could do that. And then I thought, well, what if I just borrow their confidence in me and give it a shot? And so here we are.
Well, if you're a motivational speaker, please tell me at least you have a minivan and maybe you live near a river. That's all I would say. It's a little Matt Foley nudge.
With a megaphone.
Yes. Oh, look at that. We got
I
Bill
am.
Shakespeare here, Dad. Oh, what do we got here? It's Chris Farley. Died too soon. Well, Shay, how can someone get in touch with you if they are interested in knowing about your coaching? And I'm guessing you, much like me, do like a discovery call. Hey, are we a good fit? Is it a good match? Whatever. How can someone do that? Is there a good way? Do you offer that? I'm asking because I don't know.
Yeah. So the best way, I love that you asked. So thank you for that, Neil. The best way to reach out to me for a discovery call is to find me on social. So I'm Shay Sparks, SHASPARKS on LinkedIn, or the Shay Sparks on Facebook, Instagram, Threads. Feel free to reach out to me in a DM and say, hey, I heard you on Other People's Shoes. Neil is an amazing host, and I just wanted to hear more about your story or work with you. So, of course, I would love to connect with you. The best way to contact me, I have a website, shaysparks.com, and sometimes that gets lost in the muddle. So feel free to reach out to me on social media.
Neil's a great host. I don't know if we can go with that. Well, Shay, I want to say thanks for being our guest number 400. Super special that you were here today to celebrate that. Just want to say thanks for coming in and sharing what you shared and making me have to get quiet. I feel like now you've challenged me to do that, and I feel like challenge is accepted. So there you go.
Awesome. Well, Neil, first of all, congratulations on 400. You deserve all the accolades. And if I had the crowd goes wild, I would have that for you, but I don't.
You're after. All right, guys, that's enough. That's enough. Calm down.
Just know that's from me.
All right, guys and gals, kids and campers alike. That is it. That is all. Listen, I love a good party. I've been a DJ. I've been to the wedding thing. My wife's going to hear this. She's going to be like, yeah, right. You like a good party. You who wants to sit at home and watch Netflix and reruns of 90210. Yeah. Are we sure we're talking about the same guy? You the guy that doesn't like to play board games. You know, when I was in my 20s, I was really good at all that stuff. When I was in my 30s, I was sort of good at that stuff. Now in my 40s, that's all I want to do is just grab my pillow, my blanket, crawl in the bed, forget the world, shut it out. Is that living or is that surviving? That's a great takeaway from today. And maybe that's where we build upon and where we leave you. Are you surviving? Are you living? My friend Shay, she's standing by. She's ready. She's in the bullpen. Does she have all the answers? Maybe some. And maybe for some of you, you need to find that answer. I'm going to find that answer. Before we go, don't forget this. It's so important. Remember, when you walk in other people's shoes, you really do get a different perspective on life. You know we're on the social medias at OPS Podcast Show under Facebook, Instagram, and X. We're going to be right back here next week. Again, when we walk in other people's shoes.